Welcome everybody, welcome to the Tomb of Illumination, where we talk about a lot of things. And the story today is why is gravity invisible? I'm not sure if we actually touch on that fact of invisibility, but this came through on Quora, and I just read their explanation and thought, what a joke. So I replied with my explanation, so I thought it was worthy of a video, so people can understand what's actually going on here. So this is what they do on Quora is they put their own question so they can answer it. So in their common science narrative. So anybody wanting to learn something is being falsely indoctrinated, basically. Keep your kids away from this stuff. It's absolute rubbish. But anyway, I'm going to read it. I mean, it sounds good, but then I'm going to explain what's wrong with it. Gravity is often referred to as an invisible force. The reason for this has to do with the fundamental nature of gravity itself. I just opened it up, which I should have done before. Gravity itself. Gravity is one of the four fundamental forces of nature, along with electromagnetism and the strong and weak nuclear forces. These forces are responsible for the interactions and behaviours of all matter and energy in the universe. Gravity in particular is a long-range force that acts between all objects with mass. It is described by the general theory of relativity, which was developed by Albert Einstein in 1915. According to this theory, gravity isn't a force transmitted through space like the other forces. Instead, it is a curvature in the fabric of space-time caused by the presence of mass. Well, they've got that wrong. The gravity, what they call gravity, are the two forces of nature coming together to create mass, not the other way around, and it has nothing to do with the curvature of space-time. The curvature of our realm is basically the Coriolis, which is the curving magnetic field, because of the central vortex of creation, back at the center, the spiral. All creation is hidden in this vortex, central vortex of creation. So everything out here we see is due to the spiral effect in here, projected out into our realm. Gravity is the two forces that come together in this toroidal field that we live in to create the flat plane of inertia. Bang! When they come together, bang! And then Earth is created. It's all metaphysical because it's a conscious state. It's just nothing's actually physical if you can get your head around that. These two forces come together, which is a dual system, because Earth is of a dual system, male and female, weak force, strong force. Guess which one's the strong force? Comes together and bingo, bang, creates the plane of inertia. Then we dwell on top of this plane, net. So then we only concerned with this top half. So then that top half becomes a dual system. So imagine it's a donut, but we only live on the top half. In the dual system becomes split between the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So we are now the created from creation, which is reality. This is now false. It's a projection. But we imitate creation. So where these two forces here are now here. We have two forces. These are like the dielectric, the capacitor plates, and up to the centre is a dielectric. That's where science tells us all the radiation is created. Well, they don't actually, but that's basically where it's created. And gives us the images of the sun and everything in here. But in reality, everything is back here. But a lot of you won't understand what I'm talking about here, but you just have to imagine this is now imitated out here. Creation is now imitated out here. So what happens is, but we need this system here to create our sun back in here, because this what's created here feeds back into there. So you can imagine all the energy is going into there, and the energy is coming out of here. It's the donut, okay? So you've got that tropical gap all the way around, and the energy comes out between those plates to create the well, at the end of this is the Milky Way, you see, and it moves around. It's like a straw, and it moves around, and we see the sun at this end of the Milky Way. But that Milky Way, that straw goes over and feeds the actual plasma at the centre. Okay? So gravity is the two forces that come together, which have created Earth, which has created the mass, which has created our whole realm, not the other way around. Those two forces there have nothing to do with the curving magnetic field that comes out and moves around our Earth to give us the Coriolis effect. The more massive an object, the more it warps the space-time around it, and the stronger its gravitational pull. I'll draw it. This is our up at the top here, this flat horizon. The centre is the black hole. Off centre is the sun, just there, the plasma, the real plasma sun. We get the image out here. You can't see pure plasma back there, but we get an image out here due to the light spectrum. So the ecliptic plane, which is around the top of this vortex, say, this is going a bit flat. You've got the circles, all the planets. Right back here in the centre, you've got the black hole, and the sun is right there. Right there, and the whole thing just moves around the top of this vortex. So you can just imagine vortex water, spinning water in a cup. The flat top just turns. They're getting sucked right down to the black hole centre. So you could say that's the gurgler down the centre. When you vortex water, it's just like that. It's our realm right there, but it's projected. It does this S-curve. How do I draw it? It does an S-curve cycle. That represents this gurgler, basically. It's all getting washed down into the vortex. So because it's a toroidal field, we have all this energy flowing out, don't we? Coming out of there. There's always a counter force. What's going in? There's another one coming out. And this magnetic field is flowing out. Down here, around there, up over here, down there, and back around there. All the way around the donut. So it's always going like this. And this is the so-called curved space-time they keep talking about. But it's just part of the toroidal field. You look at a torus, it's the curved, what they call curved linear field. And creation back here, what's being created back in here, gets brought out into this magnetic field. So these curving magnetic field lines are where we see the sun. But the sun follows this ecliptic plane. Yeah, this plane tilts up and down actually. It goes down and out, up and in. And the sun is always following the magnetic field. The more massive the object. So they're just referring to something that might be heavier, like a rock, as opposed to a feather, but they keep showing us that they're the same. When you take away certain things and all is equal, they do fall at the same speed, sort of thing. The reason gravity appears to be invisible is because it does not interact with light or other electromagnetic waves. True, in the same way that, for example, charged particles do. Gravity doesn't emit, absorb or scatter light, so it doesn't have any direct visual manifestation. We only perceive gravity through its effects on matter and motion. Gravity through its effects on matter and motion of celestial bodies, such as the Earth's orbit around the Sun. So the Earth doesn't orbit around the Sun, for starters, so the Sun is always moving around Earth as the projected image. From there, centre, dead centre, the image seen at the end of the Milky Way. The Milky Way turns like a straw around the top of the cup 24/7. All due to the projection in here as it spins, turns in the Milky Way ecliptic plane. Okay, so that turning is moving everything around the top of our donut above us. That has nothing to do with the two forces that come together to create Earth, which is gravity. You see, above this plane, everything expands. Below this plane, everything contracts. This is where you go deep down into the ground. You end up with granite. Work your way up. There's 7 layers. There's 7 atmospheric layers too that expand in gaseous forms, changing their states through ionization. You could say they're the noble gases. Inert gases. Inert gases. And what's at the top here? Helium, the sun. The lightest gas, hydrogen, helium, whatever. And everything in our realm is from water, so it's from the hydrogen molecule. Through water and compaction, we get granite. Expansion of the hydrogen molecule, we get expansion as you go up. Thinner and thinner atmosphere, thinner and thinner air. Lighter and lighter gas, or thinner and thinner gas, or expressed gas. So, of celestial bodies such as the Earth's orbit around the Sun or the way objects fall towards the ground. Gravity is incredibly weak compared to the other forces. For example, the electromagnetic force is about 10 to the 36 times stronger than gravity. This means that even though gravity acts on all objects with mass, its effects can be difficult, unless you're dealing with objects of significant mass like planets, stars or galaxies. A load of rubbish, because all the stars, galaxies and whatever are all up here as projections, projected from out of there, projected into our night sky backdrop and moisture in the atmosphere. So I've replied to him, and this is what I've said. What he just explained is well stated, but is actually a load of garbage. Science has confused Earth's magnetic field with what we all call gravity. They are two different entities. Gravity are the two forces of nature that come together to create our realm, which is mass, not the other way around. It's come to create our physical realm, our mass. The two forces of nature can be easily described as male and female, coming together to create friction, in turn create a child, which is Earth, Gaia. Now we are talking a black hole that is its friction around its perimeter. The black hole itself is fixed and stationary, hence why it is written Earth is from the hole. Earth comes from that hole. It's been created from the 0 point. But like I say, that's 0 point created, bang, plane of inertia from the black hole. But then our realm above here creates its own system as well. So we end up having a black hole up through here. with the sun on its horizon projecting out into our realm. Now we're talking a black hole that has its friction around its perimeter. The black hole itself is fixed and stationary, hence why it is written Earth is from the hole. You stick something in the hole and both surfaces, the perimeter, the circumference, are creating the friction. Well, that would be the central vortex of creation. That's the female. There's the female, this big vortex here. The female, and the male being the Milky Way that comes over into it. The male aspect. Okay? Being the Milky Way. They meet at the horizon, they meet on the horizon of the black hole. That's where all the friction is, right? It's around the perimeter, not in the centre of the black hole. It's like the void when you vortex water. There's a void in the centre. Fixed and stationary, nothing going on there. It's all around the outside, perimeter. The Milky Way is considered the obelisk or phallus in ancient Egypt. These two entities are also weak and strong forces. Guess which is which? Male and female. Curved space-time is the Coriolis and the curving magnetic field of the torus that moves over the Earth. Our sun, the projected image, is seen in this curved field line at any given time on any latitude as it moves west over our flat Earth on that one magnetic field line. It's curved and the sun will be seen anywhere along that line, depending on where you are on Earth, where you are standing. At the same time as on that curved line. The actual sun sits on the inside track of the ecliptic plane. It moves the quickest, right in there. Moves the quickest. Science doesn't tell you it even moves. Science physics is so effed up, it's not funny. The actual sun, SUN/SON/child, is created on the frictional horizon of the black hole. Period. So if you want to read that, go check it out. Go on Quora. Get your head around it. Understand fiction from reality. And it's called Why is Gravity Invisible? That was that. So, we know it's invisible, don't we? We just know everything falls back to the plane of inertia. We always fall back to Earth. You try swimming below the ocean, you're going to pop back up. If you're alive, that is. Starting to get a bit deep when you start talking about mass and rocks and everything falling to the bottom of the ocean. But yeah, it's understanding how the our flat Earth realm works. Understanding all the central vortex, how it's now created out here. But one feeds the other. We have to have the created realm, which is still attached to the creator. Like the child, Gaia, God's children, whatever, children, is still attached. The umbilical cord, we are still attached. We are not freed from creation, the Father, the black hole. The umbilical cord still comes into our realm, hasn't been severed. Cut that, you're on your own, we'd all die. Because we've survived, we exist from this black hole and sun back here. Okay? Not exactly a well narrated scientific video, but some of you might get it. If you like this sort of thing, subscribe, likes up, and see you in the next video. Cheers.